Well, it's just, they must have touched their own thing.
Yeah.
There's paper towels up there.
Well, my name is Norma Jean, so I am actually Marilyn Monroe.
You are, yeah?
Really?
Norma Jean Monroe.
Norma Jean.
Norma Jean.
That was her original name, Norma Jean.
Goodbye,
I know that.
Norma Jean. Like a candle in the wind.
That's right.
That song.
Norma Jean Trent.
What was your maiden name?
Shore,
Shore.
S-H-O-R-E.
You have a budget amendment for,
So here's an interesting conundrum.
you don't need to.
So I'm Norma Jean Shore. I married Bob
Well,
Mountain,
no,
and I lived on Beach Street. I grew up on Beach, the tree.
Yeah. B-E-E-C-A.
That hit me one day, I'm like, wait a minute. Geographic names, that is really strange.
Well, I can send you what I got, but, cause we need to do that too, so there's maybe some cleanup stuff next week.
Oh, for heaven's
And
sakes.
however I can help.
So do I need to, I heard you talking about a budget amendment, and that's a resolution, right?
It is, it's.
Do you want me to send you a,
Yes, do you have an example? That'd be perfect. What we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be transferring, we did a transfer, well, we're gonna be transferring cash to capital improvements. That's gonna require us to revise the appropriation authority, the remaining appropriations, and that's what the budget amendment's gonna be,
and then we have to do a JV for
all of that.
Justin too.
Yes, yes, yes. that's what
Budget
we're
amendment,
just
but
talking-
not a budget amendment for Justin, right?
Not a budget amendment, that's just check moving expenses. Budget amendment is when you change spending,
Allocations,
the amount of appropriation. So,
okay.
but what's really weird is, so say you move cash from this account to this account. When you move the cash, you also have to expense it. So it's treating it like an expense. And when you expense it, it reduces your remaining appropriation. When you're really not spending any money, so that's what you need, an amendment to give them that money back so they can still appropriate.
Ugh, I'm so glad I don't work with budgets, because it confuses me.
Well, it can be pretty taxing, to be honest with you. God, that's excellent.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Do we
it
have
is.
a position description for the CFO?
Yes, we do.
C-A-S.
And I actually sent it, Mike.
Did you send it
But
to?
let me, sometimes,
And I sent you your reservation.
yeah, I got that, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go and,
It was in that pile that we were gonna sign too.
what?
This morning, in that pile. Well, for some reason, I'll bet you look in the pile, you'll see, no, never mind. The resignation letter was,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sent.
yeah.
Resignation.
Already.
Oh,
I
you
did
weren't
make a
supposed-
copy of it.
weren't supposed to send that.
Whatever, you told me you
Yeah.
would go out.
Stephanie Newman is interested in looking at it. And the reason why is because
Oh,
it
really?
says there's, and this, we'd have to agree on this, obviously, but whether we turned it into a full-time position or a temporary position, or if we also had a requirement that she does not have to come in, but maybe just once or twice a week.
Now, I could buy the once or twice a week. Now, you're gonna get pushback on that,
Mhm.
but as long as you're doing your job,
Well,
most of that is analytical type stuff
Yeah,
that can be
right.
done remotely. And you can certainly understand it if you live out in the, but whether or not it's full-time, I think we need to gauge that, to say how
I
demanding
know.
is it? You know,
Yeah.
it's demanding during the budgeting cycle, but maybe not so much,
Chris will
That's
be
why she
full-time.
wants to look at it, cause it says that we're up in the air on that. but
yeah,
Could go either way.
yeah.
So
And,
that's why she wants to see.
Chris would be
that,
full-time, was she?
She was
No.
not.
She was hourly and she put in hours.
And,
I think
and,
Amy was full-time,
She was never here.
but that cost us.
Amy was never here.
Never.
Never, huh? She did everything remotely?
That's what she said.
No.
boy, that was a diplomatic
Ooh, that
answer,
was-
but I think we know what that means.
That was a weighted comment.
It wasn't indeed.
I would be thrilled, I think she's got the right temperament. So whether or not she has the time, and she would have the support from Cheryl and Darcy and, you know, the team here. We don't expect her to get up to speed, well, I think she might,
She's a Black Mountain person
oh, okay.
because the city uses it.
Yeah.
And so she's familiar with that to some extent. It's just a matter of going a little further with the county here, so.
Well, I'm gonna forward you this, Mike. Now, we called for, certain requirements. But we can be flexible, like, we would prefer if you had a degree and experience in accounting and that kind of
At
stuff.
least a high school degree.
But,
Yeah.
you know, that doesn't mean that she shouldn't apply.
That's right.
You know, she applied originally, and we offered her the position.
And then
I
she
think it was
backed out.
You
because
scared her off.
I was just too damn strong with her, and I shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Well, we scared her off,
Yeah,
not just you. We all did, you know.
well, we didn't know what we're getting into.
Yeah. But I think she's got the right temperament.
Yeah, she
She's
does.
smart, she can,
She's got a brain, and she's also she's strong-willed.
You
And
bet.
so you can have some really strong arguments with her, and maybe you can prove yourself right or prove yourself wrong, but she doesn't take it literally. She's willing to move on. Just do her job.
well, the way I see it is, I don't have to be right, we just need to get it right.
Yeah.
And,
Would it?
if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know, just as long as we, and then you want somebody in there that'll push back if you're, like Darcy has corrected me on a lot of stuff. Where I thought I was, said, no, you don't, doesn't work that way, you know, it's like,
Well,
okay.
you can agree to disagree, you know,
Yeah,
That's right.
get along. You don't have to be each other's best friends, but you have to work together.
exactly. Except with these guys,
Well,
they need
that's
to
true.
listen to everything I say.
You're the Three
I
Musketeers.
thought I was wrong once, but I was wrong.
Well, I know, I was reading, so Chase, Jamie Dimon, who Bill used to work for, doesn't have great respect for him.
Really?
So he called everybody, said, you're all working full-time in the office. No excuses. Nobody's working from home anymore.
All right.
Yeah. If you don't wanna do it,
Yeah,
Out you
it's
go.
up to you.
out you go. So, yeah, he's calling, well, like,
Who was that?
guy in charge of Chase, Jamie Dimon, Chase Bank, one of the people that got rid of Bill in his job. But he just was just like, tough luck.
Hmm.
I'm here every day. Why can't you be here every day?
Well, that's how Elon Musk is.
Yeah.
He's like, but the reason that there's this strong getting away from remote work is only 6% of the federal workers were working on the site, in their office. They were all working from home. Imagine
Well,
that.
if you only have, like, you were talking about the lady with the CFO, if you can do your work at home on the computer, and it saves expense, well, now, especially Washington DC, which
Oh,
traffic
yeah.
is horrible, people are spending 2 and 3 hours one-way commuting. If you can do all your work at home, why shouldn't you be allowed to work at home? If you're an effective worker, why shouldn't you be allowed to work at home?
Well,
I don't understand the problem with that.
I'm a fan of remote work, but I will admit to you that the biggest risk in remote work is isolation.
Mhm.
True.
And once you get somewhat isolated, you lose touch. Now,
Yeah, you're not- yeah.
so you need, they call it a hybrid, you need that mix to where you know, like, we do a lot of stuff, you
You
know,
guys work real well.
remotely, but when we
But-
come in, we still have to interact And,
Well, why couldn't you work, you know, like say you work 3 days and 2 days in the office? I mean, that's doable.
Yeah,
and that's what I like, that's what I think we should do with this accounting position.
yeah. I think
And so, you know, come in twice a week,
check in.
Touch base. talk to
but
people.
you need to understand that there'll be times when it might be full-time, there'll be times when it might be more, there'll be times when it might be less.
Right.
And so it's just kind of an honor system.
Is she gonna, is this this position, is it salary or hourly?
It's hourly.
It's been hourly.
Hourly, okay.
And, but when I walked, I think Chris was just charging us a flat 20 or something. I don't know for sure, but.
When we hired her, we set her wage at $26 an hour, remember?
Yeah, well, but, yeah. And I don't think she
Which
was,
at the time, I thought, well, that's pretty high, but still a
no,
good CEO.
Not for
No,
a
no.
Now, you start looking around, you're not gonna find anyone that cheap.
no.
Right.
you
A
probably
good
look at-
accountant is worth their weight of gold.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, but in all fairness, so Chris didn't have a degree and she didn't,
Yeah.
you know, so it's good. But I told her she needs to, you know, if she needs to work more hours, she needs to work more hours and you know, she'll get paid, we'll pay you. You know? So, and then when I did that presentation on the budget that we went over with it really is clear to me, it's during our budgeting cycle when things really get intense.
Of course.
And then monthly, it probably is a half-time job, but once you make it through a few budget cycles too, I think it gets easier, you know? But for the right person, you just need somebody that cares, and Chris cared, you know, Chris,
Mhm. She seemed to.
she cared about doing it right.
Almost too much.
Well, I don't know, you know, when we are all on the hook for this, so we take this really seriously, how we handle this stuff, so.
Exactly.
And especially since how screwed up things were when we took this, like Mike can tell you how bad it was when.
Yeah, you got a lot of
It was the dark ages.
Yeah.
Shut down.
dark ages,
Yeah.
medieval times.
Medieval time.
Dark ages.
Nothing was done right.
Oh, that's so sad. So sad, I'm sorry that happened.
We're gonna, Aaron's breath of taking, we're getting bankrupt, we're gonna take bankruptcy.
We were gonna lose any state or federal funding,
Yeah.
because this poor county. You know, they say, hey, we're not gonna give this money to Muscle County because we don't know who's spending it.
That's right, or where
Well,
it's
that's
going.
We don't know where it's going.
And you guys don't either.
Yeah,
So if the people running the county don't know where the money's going, why is somebody
Yeah.
higher up gonna give you
exactly.
Why would-
Well,
money to
us
spend?
and Glacier County were considered the two.
Glacier County.
Yeah, and they didn't
Oh.
care if they lost
They
their
took
money.
And it was because it was,
All
you know,
federally.
the primary source of funding for Glacier County is from the Blackfoot Indian
Yeah,
Reservation.
it's the federal
Reservation.
money.
And holy smokes,
Bad.
it's just,
They got.
and they argue, and they just argue. It's just, they have a similar system there that the Crow Nation has, and you got these two factions arguing all the time, and then they
Right.
never really, one spends it all for all their friends, and then they get voted out, and so then the next one comes in and they spend it for all their friends. That's exactly what we're gonna be talking about next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Crazy.
No, we were only the second worst county. I really felt bad about it. I want to be number one, so.
And do you know where that came from?
No
It
way.
came from a CFO who is the daughter of the president of First Security Bank.
Yeah. Really?
One of Sean's? No, so previous.
Well, the biggest thing there is the county commissioners allowed an annual financial report not being submitted for 5 years to the state.
Yeah, they weren't
Yeah.
doing their job. It all
we're
come
not.
back to the commission.
You have to sign off on that damn thing.
Come on, give me a break.
It was required by law.
Yeah, it's required. It's
I mean,
required.
Like a profit every year, I mean, I did good grief, a county?
Well, and the thing about that is that it makes you wonder,
Well, yeah,
why aren't you filing your annual financial reports?
give me a break.
The
You're-
CFO and Mike's brother spent hour after hour downstairs going over
Mhm.
each and every budget department. And one week, the sheriff would have all kinds of money, the next week, he wouldn't, and then they put it into another account. They were taking it from here and there and playing the shell game with money.
No paper trail? Mm,
Well, yes,
That's,
the thing that's crazy about that is when we started taking it over, we had all these negative numbers, negative cash in an account. Sometimes one of them was negative $800 and some thousand.
Mhm.
you just
That
need-
means that somebody
somebody
got
moved it
less
around.
cash than they think they have, because you have to make that negative
A positive.
to zero at least.
Yeah.
And so-
Zero.
We really had to bite the bullet on a lot of that stuff. Well, what are we gonna do? How did this get so negative? It's just from what he described.
It's crazy.
You know, we don't have enough money to pay for this, well, we'll take it from here, but guess what? They didn't have it either. You know, so, and the way the law works is, when you appropriate dollars, in other words, when you tell a department you can spend, we'll use the sheriff's, for example. You can appropriate, you can spend $1 million this year, John, for running your thing. If we don't have the cash or the revenue to fund that, we are in violation of the law.
Right, because you have told him legally that
He,
can
he-
spend.
you know, he can say, look, you said I could spend it,
Right.
whether I got it or not is, but that's the part that nobody was looking at.
You-
Overall, the county had enough money to fund everything, but on an individual account level, some had more money, some didn't have enough. And that's the start, we had to start unraveling, and there was 396 funding accounts.
Mhm.
And so it's like, good God.
Interesting times.
So there's been a lot of work, and Chris was a big part of that, getting that stuff straightened out. So I'm sorry she left, I really am.
Well, that's too bad. Yeah, she seemed nice. Too bad. But
Her and Bob Denny,
Yeah,
his firm was pushed things over.
Oh, you bet. He was hugely instrumental, but he kind of kept us dependent on his.
Yeah, he did in a way, I mean, that's.
You'd
his
have all
business.
these journal entries and you wouldn't know what they were for, and so you had to rehire him the next year to keep it straight, you know?
oh no.
Yeah.
And they're expensive.
Oh yeah.
Then
Accountants
it's
are
so sad.
expensive.
Yeah, that, and I
He's like
know-
a forensic accountant or something? Or?
Yeah, he is actually, but that's
he's an
not what he did.
auditor.
He's what?
He's an auditor, but he's a
Auditor.
CPA.
He auditors 26 counties in Montana, he might have more now.
What's it, he's
His
three,
firm does. He's in Kalispell.
his rate is $315 an hour.
I'll start charging.
it's just
that.
like one of the highest paid attorneys in Billings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I hope to get a rate like that.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, that audit's $395,000.
Yeah,
And they'd already
it's fine.
spent $150,000 on an auditor before that, and he quit. He said, I can't do it. They'd already given him $150,000. And then they found that Danny came in, and he put his whole firm at working on it, and $395,000. And he comes and says, I got a base for you, where you can start out and build from there, he says,
Mhm.
that's the best I can do. Because there's so many things that there was no record on it. Money was gone. He said, I assume it was spent legitimately, but I can't prove it.
You know what it reminds me of, and this is a very simple example.
Yeah.
So I like to knit, yarn, crochet. When you have a big, so you're starting to roll a ball of yarn, and then you get a knot in it, and you try to get that knot out, and you find another knot, and all of a sudden you get this big, giant tangle of yarn that you don't know how to untangle.
Right.
So you have to sit there for several hours,
Untying knot.
untangling, moving this around, moving that around, moving this around, moving that around, until you finally get one long strand of yarn that doesn't have any knots in it, and then you can roll it up into a ball.
You hope you get that.
Well, that's,
Same idea, you
It
guys
is,
had a big
it's-
giant ball of worms that you had to figure
Yeah.
out.
I equated it to fishing line, but the
Same
yarn is a
idea.
good word, it's like,
Same
you know,
idea.
at first it looks impossible, it's not impossible, but
If
it's
you
not
know,
gonna be
if you
easy.
just slow
Yeah.
work at it, it'll come out.
Yeah, I mean, it got that way
The
somehow.
court advocacy program is run by a grant from the Montana Crime Control Committee. It was an ongoing grant, revolving yearly, and it was $135,000 they were giving Muscat County for that program. And they sent me a letter that says we're canceling it, because you're been fiscally irresponsible, and we decided that you guys don't deserve the grant. Well, that was Tammy Allen and Charlie at the time, and Tammy Allen, and they were gonna have to lay them off. So I got a hold of them, I said, what can I do to straighten this out?
Yeah.
They said, the first thing we need is a copy of your policies and procedures manual dealing with federal grants. I said, I'll get it to you. Of course, we didn't have one, so I had to write one.
We had to hurry and write.
I actually got it from Glacier County, they got theirs.
Oh, fine.
I called a whole bunch of counties and none of them had one. But Glacier County had one because they deal with federal grants because they're Indian
And,
residents.
because they have to deal with the tribe, yeah.
So I got a copy of theirs and I started deleting BIA out of everything and wrote out everything I thought would make it work and sent it to them, and they sent it back and said, no, this isn't quite what we need. I got to know the secretary real well up there because she would tell you gotta change this, you gotta change that.
No shit.
I got so I was
Really?
talking
No,
to
I
her
wasn't aware of
weekly.
that. What the hell for?
I told her, you're just like my old English teacher, you're never satisfied.
Just tweak something else.
Finally, I got one that worked for him, and we got
Yeah.
our grant back.
Oh, good, good for
So
you.
I got a whole new manual that I figured I'd sell to other
Okay.
counties, but I haven't got it.
Well, at least you have something.
That's
Once
right.
you got the grant back, that's good. Oh. People do
Mhm.
things right, you know, just don't
Right.
slap things together, do it right first time.
Yeah,
If you do it right the first time, you don't have to go back and correct it.
yeah, I try to tell myself
Okay.
that, I still screw up.
I do too.
I don't think Ron's coming in.
No, they said he wasn't, he's out of town.
Well, we gotta wait for Barb now, though.
Yeah,
That should be interesting.
I'm gonna look at Barb and I'm gonna say,
Uh-oh.
Now, who is Barb?
Barb
Barb,
Whacker.
Yeah.
say
she-
Barb,
no,
I'm
we-
with you?
Do you know
Whacker?
Barb Whacker?
Yep.
Whacker?
Yeah,
She's a force.
oh yeah.
She's,
She's a force. Barb Whacker. I don't know what her
she
name
just,
is.
everyone's picking on her.
Oh, well, yeah, join the group.
Yeah, here, let me put you on speaker. You got a minute? Can you do it?
I'll ask you guys something else.
All right. This is our county attorney, Ben.
Ben,
Members of the commission, I apologize. No sooner did I leave to try and go on this trip, then of course something happened.
Of course.
The legislature is trying to pass a bill, to reduce or to eliminate a judicial position. And it would be to combine the judicial position for Adams and then for Fergus County.
Really?
Which would effectively make one judge responsible for trying to keep track of 12 counties.
Wow.
The only political reason I can see they're doing this is because they're mad at the judicial branch and they're trying to come up with kind of some way to strike back. And why they would go after good conservative judges that have never caused any problems
Right.
for the legislature in the state of Montana, and, you know, as opposed to going after judicial districts that are causing them problems, I'm not entirely sure. But apparently this is the area that they have decided to target. I was speaking with Kent Syke, the county attorney up in Fergus County, and he is writing and preparing a resolution, which I don't have in front of me behind the resolution would be a resolution opposing or kind of telling the legislature that we have a real problem with that. Because one judge can't cover that big of an area. It's not really a question of the number of cases involved. The primary issue is a judge just can't physically get to all 12 of those counties
Right.
in a sufficient amount of time.
Geography.
But the vote is scheduled for Wednesday or Thursday of this next week. The problem with the resolution is we have not advertised that we would be considering one.
So you have the bill,
My carefully considered response to that is, we're not doing a resolution to spend any money, to really do anything, create a board, anything like that.
Right.
So if someone challenged the resolution and it were to be reversed, by the time they did that, it's already gonna be past the vote anyway. The other thing we could do is we could pass the resolution and basically say, yeah, we realize we haven't advertised it. We're advertising it for the next meeting too, and we'll reconsider whether we're going to affirm our previous resolution. That way the public still has time to comment on the resolution.
We'll take that, we'll take the heat on that.
Okay, well, I think that second option, given the time frame that we're dealing with, I don't think anybody is really going to give us a hard time about it. And, let's say they did, the argument that we had taken unlawful action would be, taken up before a district court judge, which would also probably leave us in pretty good shape.
So what would the resolution be again?
Okay, the resolution would be in opposition to consolidating, and you'll have to excuse me because I don't know what judicial district Burgess County is. I think they're the 12th judicial district.
Sounds
And
right.
our judicial district, which is the 14th judicial district. And Kent Syfe is actually preparing the resolution for your
Okay.
review and signature
Okay,
to send to you. But because I'm traveling, there's no guarantee that I will be within cell phone reach
Right.
when that gets to you. And so I wanted to talk to you ahead of time so you knew what was going on, what was at stake, and what my suggestions were.
okay.
Ben, I'm sorry, this is Norma, do you have the Senate bill or House bill number?
I don't because I'm driving and
Okay.
I'm in my car. Presumably that's in my email.
Okay,
I will text Tammy from my phone and ask her to print that bill out,
Yeah.
and bring it up to you.
Do that.
So you mentioned the word unlawful action. What would the unlawful action be? Adopting this resolution without proper advertisement?
Without proper advertisement, so there would not be sufficient
timely
time
manner.
for the public to have
Voted on it.
received notice that that was a decision that we were considering and speak in favor of it or oppose it. So the problem would be the public's constitutional right to participate in government.
Okay, so,
We just voted
We
for it
remedy that
for
and
the opposition.
alleviate that is at the next meeting. We revisit this and we reaffirm the resolution, or once people had an opportunity to comment on it, we say, oh, you're right, okay. After considering this, you know what, we're going to abandon the resolution.
Right.
well, I guess I'm a little hung up on this, and I know you need to keep it. Is why we need a resolution at all. Are we supporting or opposing a bill?
We're opposing the bill.
And when we're using the
We wanna
resolution,
create as much of a record as quickly as we can to get it to the legislature to say, hey, you guys knock it off. The people you have a problem with are not our judge, it is not our judge, not our judicial district.
okay,
Quit picking on us.
Right.
But, but by the way, everybody here votes Republican, and like, what are you going after us for?
I got got you, I'm a little